Good afternoon, good morning, good night, whatever time it might be where you're at. Hope you're doing well. In this video, if you haven't already guessed, this is going to be the Q&A answers part of the video. I recently published a video, and at the beginning of the video I stated that I want you guys to put all of your questions in the comment box of that video, and here I am answering all of those questions. I'm gonna go first comment, oldest comments to newest comments, because the first people, I think that they deserve to get their comments answered. First question by Patrick E39. What do you do for a living? I am a junior advisor at a small financial planning office downtown Columbus. We help high net worth individuals plan their lives, retirement plans, invest for the future, all kinds of good stuff. So that is what I do. That is what pays 90% of the bills around here. Red Titan Gaming, how are your M3 speakers? How does it ride? How's the gas mileage? And how much miles on the car when you bought it? Tips on looking for a mint M3. So you snuck in with a few questions here, but I think I'll answer them all. How are your M3 speakers? So I do not have the upgraded speaker package. I just have the regular speaker package. They are fine. They are not gonna blow you away, but the reason I bought this car was for the sound of the engine and the exhaust and the driving feel, not to blast the music. I'd be more concerned about that for maybe like the Jeep or something like that. These speakers honestly do just fine. I'm pretty picky, but they really don't bother me, the sound quality. How does it ride? It rides just fine. You can daily this car if you put it in MDM mode, very aggressive mode. It's a little more harsh, but it's not jarring like a race car. How is gas mileage? I get between 16 and 18 on average. If I'm driving like crazy, you know, I'll get 10 or whatever. If I'm driving on the highway, maybe I'll get like 19 depending on how fast I'm going, but between 16 and 18, which is really not that bad for this car. How many miles were on the car when you bought it? I bought it, I believe, with just about 30,000 miles, and there's about 40,000. So I put about 10,000 miles on in about 18 months or so, and part of that was driving across the country to get it from Phoenix, Arizona, which is about 2,000 miles. So really I only put like 8 or so, and then I went to the mountains. I did a lot of driving when I first bought it. Tips on looking for a new M3, also asked by Red Titan Gaming. I would really look for people who really seem to care about the vehicle. Someone who is doing the maintenance, someone who has all the maintenance records, someone who's somewhat of an enthusiast, cares about it. Don't just get distracted by a low price. Usually there's a reason why those cars are so cheap. These cars are holding value, so be ready to pay at, you know, 30 grand for a pretty good spec. Pay close to 40 for low mileage cars, it seems like, at least right now. Front lip suspension, question mark. I would like to do a front lip, but unfortunately my driveway is so steep, I don't think that that would stay on the car very long, and I have a hard time putting an expensive lip, even if it's only a few $100, only to get ripped off inevitably. Suspension, I have competition suspension, which is I think 0.4 inches lower than stock. I purposely wanted competition package so I wouldn't be screwing around with the suspension and getting coilovers and stuff. It depends, money situation, it depends on what my plans are for the car. I think the height, I would like, you know, the front to be lowered a little bit, but right now with my driveway and all that and money, it's just really not a priority. Best bang for your buck on detailing products / favorite brands. Bang for your buck, that's so relative, because for me, like Adam's Car Shampoo is pretty expensive compared to other ones. But it foams really well, it has a lot of lubrication, and I really like it. So that is a lot of bang for your buck in my opinion. It's a hard question to answer, especially because I use a lot of different brands for different things. I don't just use one brand for everything. I would say Meguiar's makes a lot of good things. So if you're just getting into detailing, I think Meguiar's, like I have a lot of Meguiar's pads for my polisher that I use. I started off with a lot of Meguiar's, like their soap and stuff like that. So that's a really good bang for your buck. Griot's Garage is probably my #1 bang for your buck, because they don't make anything that's bad. I just think that they're better at making like wheel cleaner and maybe like spray wax and stuff like that, as opposed to like correcting compounds and stuff like that. So I don't really go to Griot's Garage for that, but it just depends. Favorite brands: Adams, Griot's Garage, CarPro. Those are really the biggest ones. I started off with Chemical Guys, to be honest with you. You know, you kind of look at yourself, you're like, wow, I've come a long way. The only Chemical Guys products I use are They're strip washed, I've used a few times, which is fine. And they're like honeydew foam. It doesn't foam more than the Adams, in my opinion. You have to put just as much. R.A. Johnson 713 plans to buy another sports car or sell the M3 and buy something better. In the next few years, probably nothing imminent. But if I were to sell the M3 for another sports car, it would probably be like a 911 Carrera S or something like that, because that is the most obvious, you know, step in that direction. Even the 997s are still over 50 grand for like a pretty good, you know, condition, spec, maintenance, all that stuff. So it's a little ways out, guys, but maybe in the future. I really like the M3 is such a good bang for your buck, in my opinion. So that's kind of why I really like it. I'm keeping it. R.A. Johnson, actually I get this question a lot, so I'll answer it. R.A. Johnson says, why do you use Army time? Well, it's just a 24-hour clock. I did study abroad when I was in school, in college, and all the clocks there were in the 24-hour increments. So it was really hard to get adjusted when something said 1400 hours or 16 or 18 or 20 or whatever. I had to like do the math. So the way that I wanted to learn quicker was I just changed my phone, and that made me learn it much quicker. And then I just left it when I came back to the US. I just left it at military time, and it's kind of a cool icebreaker. So if you're sitting in a bar or whatever, you put your phone down and it says, you know, like 1700 or 1800, people are like, is that military time? King Drew 2004, bummer, to the curb rash on my other video. Does the lift and spacers on the Jeep have any effect on the steering? Probably a little feedback on the highway at higher speeds, but that vehicle, Jeep, is just not very aerodynamic, so it's really not a great highway car in particular. So yeah, the lift just lifts the center of gravity further off the ground, which is really not ideal for handling, but it looks cool. Andrew Sanchez, any tips to new M3 owners? I would say the biggest thing is the warm-up procedure and letting the car warm up before you get on it. I have a cold start, as most people do, so I let the RPMs drop before I take off, and then I don't go above about 3,000 RPM until the oil level is right around 210, right in the middle of the gauge, because that is the rod bearings in these cars are very sensitive. It's a very tight engine, and they do have clearance issues. So if you're gonna do anything, even in the later model cars where they change the rod bearings, I'd be very cognizant of that. Otherwise, put good gas in it, buy good tires, buy good parts for it, and it'll be fine. I've had no issues with my M3 so far, and I've driven it 10,000 miles. And a lot of those miles were actually very performance oriented, so it's been very good to me. Thomas Rock, here's a question. When are you going to clean that nasty ass steering wheel in the Jeep? Well, I actually cleaned it the same day I filmed that video. So I'm gonna put a picture on the screen just so everyone who was freaked out that I like detailing and had a nasty steering wheel. Guys, I'm a human being, I'm busy, my hands get dirty, and I'm detailing other cars a lot. So I don't have time to do my own as many times as I want. So that is my excuse. I know it's still unacceptable in your mind. That is done, don't worry about that. Kehana 84, do you date women? I do date women. Elite Payne 47. Please do another video on your exhaust. What is it? How does it compare to other M3 exhausts? How do you like it? I've got test pipes. I'm really debating going OEM mod or shelling out new back box. Any pros or cons to your current setup? Any performance upgrades in mind besides the pipes and tune? You guys are really, if I say ask questions, you're gonna ask like 7. That's fine, that's good. That's the point of this video. I will do another video of the exhaust and comparisons, especially to stock, so don't worry about that. What is it? So I have test pipes, which essentially is like a down pipe, but I don't have turbo, so they're called test pipes. It gets rid of the primary cats, and then the stock, the rest of it is stock. So I have stock resonators and then stock secondary cats, and then the rear, the muffler has the OEM muffler mod, is what all the E92 guys call it, where you cut out the perforated pipes and replace them with solid pipes in the muffler. So I have the stock muffler tips, all that stuff. but you replace them with straight pipes without the perforation. So just in the muffler, it's not straight piped or anything. So it's just that muffler part, and it gives it more of a, less baffled noise. When I bought it, it just had that done, and then I did test pipes after. How do I like it? I really do like it. I'm like a 8 or 9 out of 10 as far as love it goes, because I can drive if I'm under 3,000 RPM. It's a very normal loudness to others as well, to myself. There's no drone on the highway or anything like that. But when you do drop it to 3,000 or really get on it, it is like blaring loud. Like it's like Ferrari loud. It's very exotic sounding, which is cool. It's very, very unique. The S65 engine paired with like the test pipes and then that is very, very unique sound. It's a higher pitch sound. If you did something like a Dynan rear or a Dynan performance exhaust, or even an M performance exhaust, those have a deeper sound. This will have a deeper sound if you're in a higher gear at a lower speed. So if you're going 40 and you're in like 4th gear and the RPMs are lower, it still has a nice deep like rumble with the V8. So that is nice, but it really is raspy high up. It's screaming raspy, but it's really manageable. I don't have a really big fear of starting my car around my neighbors. It is loud upon start, especially in parking garage, but I can drive it as normally as I want. So if I'm under 3 grand, I can shift normal and it's no big deal. But if I want to get on it, people are gonna notice. People jump, people get scared, people get mad sometimes. Cops don't really like it. I have no idea why. The only issues I've ever had with cops was with the exhaust. No tickets, no nothing. But yeah, so those are the pros and cons. Any upgrades besides the pipes and tune? I do have a BPM Sport Stage 2 tune on the M3. I toyed with the idea of doing a pulley, because that's a lot of bang for your buck. I will do a different lip / splitter setup in the front. I want to do sort of maybe a small carbon fiber diffuser in the back, because I don't have anything there, and I need to update the wrap. Like there's a few areas where it's scuffed or needs to be replaced, which is not really a mod. So I don't really have a ton of imminent mods for the car. I want to do like a nice intake for it. So just like kind of normal things. I did the shifter, so I did all the big things. I am not going to supercharge this car. It's a manual, and it is a vehicle that is fine for me. There's no point in supercharging and spending all that money. So it's an OEM plus car. Abinash Dihaliwal, sorry if I pronounced your name wrong. For washing your car after foaming the car, shouldn't we rinse the foam off and then do the 2-bucket method? I ask because people leave the foam in the car and then scrub it, while others rinse the foam off and then scrub the car with their wash mitts. So this is a huge debate that happened when I did a few videos on detailing other vehicles. I did a Interlagos Blue M3 paint correction. I also did a blue Golf R, and a lot of people were freaking out that I rinsed, foamed, and then I used my wash mitt. And people are trying to tell me that you should rinse, foam, let it drip, rinse, and then foam again, and then put your wash mitt. So the reason I didn't do it, or the reason I don't do it in general, is because for one, it seems to be a waste of time and product and water for my vehicles. I have this car, the M3, it has a Clearbra Expel almost over the entire thing. It's usually not too trashed, and I'm very careful, 2-bucket method, as well as a lot of soap, flipping the wash pad over. So I haven't had any issues doing that. A lot of guys I know do that just for verification. I'm not the only one that is lazy or whatever you want to call it. Doing the extra step seems kind of like a waste. Maybe I'll do it a couple times and see what I think. And also, when you're correcting a car, you don't really need to be as careful about scratching. I mean, you don't want to put any deep marring in, but if you're going to use a polisher right after, you know, touching it and stuff is not a big deal, because you're literally going to be polishing it out anyway, so it's not that big of a deal. David Wilson, kind of new to your channel, what's the deal with the multiple garages? Also, what's the music in this video? So I will try to look up the music in that other video, but I'm not really sure what it is. So as you guys can see, there's tons of garages. I live in an apartment, and these are all my neighbors' garages. So if you have an apartment, you get one garage and one space. this is my one garage and this is my one space. All the other ones are not mine. But it actually works out because no one's ever out here and I have electricity and water, so it really works out. Any future mods on the M3? Not a lot, I kind of went over that already. Just a few carbon bits here and there. Maybe the little intake things on the hood, I'll do carbon or black, we'll see what I think. Any thoughts on air drying versus towel drying? What do you prefer? I have a BMW 335 IS and I just got Ceramic Pro and I'm trying to decide what's the best and safest way to dry my car. KX Media was asking. So I used to air dry my microfibers, but I kind of was looking up and searching and asking people, and a lot of people do dryer with the low heat. So the lowest heat setting on the dryer on delicates or whatever, and that's how I dry my microfibers, which seem to be fine. They're still picking up and absorbing. I don't think if you dry it too hot or they get too hot, it burns out the fibers and then they don't work. You have to throw them away. So be very careful with that. Just got Ceramic Pro, safest way. I mean, ideally if you dry it, I mean, you want to just air dry it. So use a blower or something like that. I have the Geon Silk dryers, which I really love. So if you're going to touch the car, I would use a drying aid on the microfiber, and then also just use like something like a waffle weave or the Geon Silk dryers, which are my favorite drying towel hands down. Wear Car 54. Do you think Adams overall is the best products for the money? I mean, some of them are. I think that the regular shampoo definitely is. I'm gonna buy it for the rest of my life as far as I'm concerned. Ultra foaming shampoo from Adams is a complete ripoff, but something like their rubber cleaner is amazing. So it just depends on the product. I use a lot of Adams and that's just because I like it and they work really well. Would you pay for PPF film on your entire car or front if you bought a new which was not protected with such? Do you think it's worth it or you just drive the car and save it for the next one? I see what you're saying. Reason I ask, because I am / have been debating on whether to invest in it or not, and I would just be saving the paint for the next owner. 6.2 liter V8 was asking this. So when I bought the M3, it had XPEL on the entire thing except the roof and the rear deck lid. And my advice from having the XPEL, which has been really, really nice, because it's really like problem free here. Like, oh, I see a little piece of grass in my wash mitt, but the car's wrapped, so chances of you actually scratching it are much less. Still have to be careful, but I would say if you have no paint protection, you're debating on whether to get it or not, I would definitely get the front. So I'd get the entire hood. Don't get the line through it. It's a few extra $100, but it looks so ugly. So get the whole hood, get the fenders, get the bumper, get the lights, get everything up front that you can get. And then I would get the high impact areas. I would get, if your rear wheels, your fenders kind of stick out, like on a lot of Porsches, they have, or even on M3s and M4s, you know, they kind of stick out. So even from the factory, they come with the PPF, which is not the greatest PPF. So a lot of people replace it with PPF, paint protection film, if you don't know what that's what I'm talking about, with a more transparent, more durable PPF. So having it on more of the car is better normally, but like on the door, the only time that's helpful is if you get like a grocery cart or like something rubs up against it, because not a lot of dirt gets on like the side of this car, right? So you want to definitely get the major areas, even the A-pillars if you can, because those are going to be prone to rocks. The roof if you can, but I would say if you're on a tight budget and you want to spend, you know, under $1,000 probably at a decently priced shop that's experienced, I think you could probably get most of the front done. Maybe it's a little bit more, but I would say that's worth it because of rock chips and just because a lot of dirt accumulates in the front because you're behind cars and you're on the road and it gets kicked up. So I would say that that's worth it, the front. Sneaky Ninja FPS. At what age did you start getting interested in detailing? Well, I've always liked cars and I've always liked keeping them clean, so I've always liked washing my car, but I wasn't like detailing it per se. So I used one bucket and like a regular wash mitt, and that's all it really was. And then eventually, as time progressed, I got my eyes open to more things than the 2-bucket method, and really it happened, so it was after college, so I was like, I would honestly say like 24 was when I really like would kind of tell myself and others that I really liked detailing as opposed to I really like washing my car. All right, lighting is being crappy. Why don't you make more videos about your friends and acquaintances' cars like the one you did on Matt's GT350 and the other guy's X3? I would love to. It's just a matter of time and convenience, and not everyone wants you to drive their car, and not everyone wants a video of their car. Not everyone has the time or convenience. You know, it's a lot to ask when you want to literally do a review, which I'm not even that good at. You guys saw my Audi review and everyone freaked out. So I would like my friend Janaid's M6 Grand Coupe. I would love to drive that car. I have intentions to do it. We just haven't got around to it. So I will be, over time, you know, driving. I did drive a GT3, so go search my channel for a 991.1 GT3. So I have a few friends that have a few nice cars that maybe I'll try to incorporate a little bit more. You must really shit out money, LOL, on a curved wheel. Must need some filter, touch-up paint, wink, wink. There's a video idea from Lexus Logic. Well, that's funny that you say I shit out money, because my theory for refinishing my wheels was that I would spend $600-700 bucks and getting them all perfect instead of buying new wheels. So that was my way of saving money. So I was able to get a similar result, a perfect new result, by spending less money. So that's my logic. Spent $700 instead of like $2,500. So in my mind, that's pretty good. It needed to be done. I didn't want the curb rash anymore. Tips and tricks on applying C-Quartz UK that you have learned through experience, by Matthew Chaston. I would say lighting, mind the temperature, and don't let it sit on the car too long. So do a test area, and then if the towel that you're leveling it off is grabbing too much, then you waited too long. You can wake it up if you need to, just apply a little bit more, but then just don't wait as long. So it just depends on the temperature. Mark Jones, question: if you could do or change anything about the Jeep and money not an issue, what would it be the first 3 things you do? Oh shoot. Money not an issue. I would do a 4 to 6 inch lift, because right now I only have like a 2-inch lift. 4 to 6 inch lift. I would do wheels. I would do like probably a decently negative offset, like negative like 30 or something, and then I would do like 9 or 10 wides. So I know that sounds maybe like douchey to some people, but I've always really liked that look. On the Jeep, it looks really cool to me. So those are 2: lift, tires, and what the heck else would I do? I'd probably upgrade the headlights. So they have projector bulbs that come, I feel like in the Overlands or like the higher end ones, they actually had the projector HID bulbs. Mine are just the halogen ones, but they had the higher end ones, because the headlights aren't that great. So I'd probably do headlights. Or if I had 4 things, I'd probably do an entire sound system with like a built-in sub like to the rear, and it would not be like intermingling with the rear of the trunk. So those are the things I would do. David Hughes: hi, I just coated my Audi S3 wheels with Geon rim. When I coat them again in about 12 months, I will have to take 12 months. Will I have to take off the old coating first? If yes, what's the best way to get it off? Great vids. Thank you, David. If it were me, if you put one coat on and then in a year you want to put another one, I would just decontaminate it, maybe give them a quick polish if they need it, and then I would put another one. I wouldn't try to remove the other wheel coating. I wouldn't really be worried about it, in my opinion. Maybe I can be way off, but they're wheels. If anything, you're just gonna layer it on top. When I put Geon rim on my wheels on my M3, I put 2 coats, and it's great. I washed it once and it beads right up. White Collar Grease Monkey: missed you at the OG event this past weekend. You should do a full video and break down the cost of your ownership of the M3 over the past year. Give people an idea of what they can expect to pay and what it costs to buy one. So Gary, thank you, dude. Been watching your videos. The Ford Raptor you got, it's so cool. I really want one. It's my daily. But anyways, yeah, I missed you too. I missed the event. I look forward to the videos. And I will be doing a video on the cost of ownership of both vehicles separately, and go into detail about how much everything costs. Honestly, the most expensive thing about the M3 is tires. You want to watch out about rod bearings. You also want to watch out about throttle actuators, but those are like the big maintenance crazy items, but everything else is pretty normal. Mark James: were you planning on going to the OG event? Was hoping to meet you there. Yeah, man, I was, as I mentioned. I had a different vacation planned within a few weeks of that, and I just have a lot going on. Like I mentioned, I don't even have time to detail my own cars when I want to. I'm doing others and trying to do videos, and I've been working a lot. Like my work is consuming me, and also the videos are consuming me because I've had a lot you know, take off, and it kind of makes me want to do even more. So it's just a lot of time, and it was too forced, and I didn't want to blow a lot of money doing it. I know that event's not crazy expensive, but it was just a lot going on for me, and it was just not in the cars this year. So yeah. Cost of ownership from the Jeep and M3, update on the Jeep and M3, how you found your Jeep and cost, what do you do for a living, is your insurance high AF, should I sell the 335 for an M3/M4? All right, Kevin, I feel like you've been around for a long time, by the way. I'm gonna give you a little heart there just because I like you. Cost of ownership, I will definitely do that, as I mentioned. Update on the Jeep and M3, how you found your Jeep. I found my Jeep on Craigslist, actually. It was an owner. He lived kind of in the more rural country area of Ohio. I live close to the city. And he had a Dodge Dart and a Jeep, and then he had like an old XJ or an old Wrangler, I don't know which model, it was like a 95 or something probably. So he had enough cars, and he was trying to buy a bigger house or build a house or something, so the Jeep was just too much. So, and I think he knew that it needed suspension and wheels and all that shit. So but it was, for what it was fine. So that's how I found the Jeep. What I do for a living, I already talked about that. Is an insurance high AF. So my insurance is, I feel like per year it's about $1,700 for both vehicles, which is not horrible in my opinion, and where I am. If I moved further out of the city, it would be less expensive, but I live kind of close to a lot of places that have claims, so that's why it's a little higher. Should I sell the 335 for an M3/M4? Dude, just go drive one. Like, that's all it is. If you have the money, if you are ready to get into something else, just go drive one. And an M car is a lot different from any other car that's really made by BMW, you know, just in general. So you just have to honestly just go drive it and see if you like it. I would definitely recommend an M3 over a 335, but each has its pros and cons. You can mod the shit out of a 335 and have it walk M3s and M4s all day long, but then if you buy a new M4, I mean, those cars are really fast even from the factory, so it just depends. And as you guys know, I don't like the sound of the M4, so I just wouldn't get one. Camden Lancaster, would you prefer a ceramic coating or paint sealant with Colonite 845 for a daily BMW I take to work every day and is not garage kept? Thank you. Thank you for watching my videos and commenting. If it's a daily that is sitting outside, I think I would recommend a coating, not a wax or sealant necessarily. Coating is more durable, it's more hydrophobic usually, and it is prone to water spots, but if you are careful and wash it and use drying aids and keep up with the coating, it should be fine. So the more intense the vehicle, the more crazy things the vehicle is faced with, the more hard and the bigger the jacket that you want on the car. So the Jeep is definitely a car that wants a coating because it sits outside, it's under trees, it's in the snow, it's in the salt, it's in the mud. That car coating, it's not worth waxing the Jeep. So hopefully that answered. If you still had your 335, what would you have done to it performance-wise, looks, and anything else? So this is a fun question to answer. I had an E92 Alpine White 335 as a 2011, just like this is a 2011. I totaled it on a patch of ice in the wintertime because I was stupid and had summer tires on, and it was like an evening, and I wanted to, like, I had errands to run after work, and the rear slid out and I nailed the light post. So anyways, if you guys are here long enough, you already know that. But yeah, if you go back far enough, you'll actually see the 335, which is kind of cool. What would I have done to it? I already had a tune, I already had downpipes. So what I would have done to it was I wanted to do diffuser, I wanted to do exhaust tips, I wanted to do splitter slash front lip, and I wanted to change the shifter. I didn't really like it. It wasn't great. So those were the things that I didn't really like. I think I had like an intake on it too. So I actually had a decent amount of mods in that car. Mike Hoff, I want to buy an M3. Can you give me some pointers on what to look for during a test drive? Just listen to the car, you know, listen to how the engine is running if you can. The motors in these cars sound more mechanical. Like the Vanos is much more audible than a normal car. Like, so kind of be aware of that, but also kind of listen to other M3s if you can, just to get an idea of kind of what they're supposed to sound like, and the gear engagement. Just kind of drive it like you normally drive it. Drive a little hard, drive a little soft. Those are really the best pieces of advice. I'm not really a pro at helping people find, you know, the best cars or whatever, but I would say before you even drive it, I mean, look up the Carfax, talk to the owner, ask the owner for pictures. I mean, when I bought this car, the guy sent me like pictures on pictures on pictures, like, and I barely asked because I'm pretty detail oriented, but he was almost, dare I say, more detail oriented. Very intense about pictures and details and information. So that is the kind of person you want to buy any car from, but especially these cars. They're very sensitive. Tight engine, performance car, you have to kind of know what you're doing. So that is the advice I would give. Jimmy Joseph, can you paint correct my black M4? Well, if you are near Columbus, Ohio, I'd probably be willing to work with you and do something depending on what you need. So send me a direct message on Instagram. Those are the most direct ways that I recommend reaching out to me. So that's it for that video. Lots of questions on maintenance, it seems like, for the M3. If you guys didn't already know, I bought this M3 in Phoenix, Arizona, 2,000 miles away. I flew out, test drove it, financed it, and drove it back. And that is a crazy story. So actually, that's kind of when I was like starting the channel. It was very 2,000 subscribers, very few, and it's a lot. It's crazy how far we've come. I really do appreciate everyone commenting below. The comments were amazing. Sometimes when you kind of instruct people to do stuff, call to action, you don't deliver it well, or they don't receive it well, and it just doesn't really work out. So I was far from disappointed. This was amazing. So the interaction that you guys gave me for this video, and even in general, really came out overwhelmingly. I literally read all the comments. That was it. So if for some reason I missed yours, just comment below, or, you know, hit me up or whatever. I'm more than happy to help you find an M3 if you are looking. It seems like a lot of people want tips and advice. Look on the forums, look up stuff, Google stuff, save stuff, make a folder, like, do research. Google is your friend. There's literally no excuse not to know something about any car, but an M3 too. So anyways, thank you again. If you sat through this whole thing, thank you. I know you might have sat through it to have your question answered, but I appreciate it. I have a date with Bay today, so we are going to go inside and have a nice dinner, and I will see you guys next time.